Hello everyone, welcome to the online learning series. So today I am going to start a new chapter, that is chapter 3, motion in a straight line. This is also called as rectilinear motion. Why is it important to study about the motion? The study of motion is a very important aspect in physics. Everything in the universe moves and the concept of motion is observed in our daily life, like people walking on the ground, birds flying in the sky, sun rising in the east and setting in the west. So what is motion? How do we define motion? Let me define the motion with an example. So if I have a particle at a position P1 at time T1 and later after certain time the position of the particle is P2, that is at time T2. So as time advances, the position of the particle has been changed from P1 to P2. So I can say that this particle is in motion. So a body is said to be in motion if it changes its position with respect to its surroundings, or the change in the position over time is defined as motion. Then if the position of the body has not changed, that is, if I say that the position of the body is at P1 after time T2 also, that is after the time certain duration of time the position of this body has not changed, it is in the same position P1, then I am going to call this body as at rest. So this body whose position does not change with respect to its surroundings is said to be at rest, and these are the concepts of rest and motion. The study of motion is categorized into two branches. The first one is kinematics and the second one is dynamics. So these are the two different branches where we are going to study about the motion of any body. So in kinematics, we are only going to deal with the description of motion of any body. That is, here we are going to study about the characteristics which are associated with the motion, like velocity, acceleration, displacement, etc. But in case of dynamics, under this branch we are going to describe the motion of the body as well as we are going to study about the cause of motion. So the cause of motion is also considered in dynamics. Therefore, kinematics is that branch of physics where we are just interested in the description of the motion of the body. But in case of dynamics, along with describing the moving bodies, we are also going to learn the cause of motion. So what is the cause of motion? The cause of motion is force. So we are going to study about force in this branch of physics. And the next two chapters, that is chapter 3 and chapter 4, the motion in a straight line and motion in a plane, they both deal only with this kinematic branch, that is they come under the kinematics. Now let us learn the types of motion. There are three types of motion. The first one is the translatory motion. So what do you mean by translatory motion? If a body moves along a straight line, if a body is moving along a straight line, then I am going to call such motion as translatory motion. And if I consider this O as a fixed point, then the distance from the fixed point is going to change continuously in a translatory motion. And coming to the second type of motion, it is circular motion. So you can see circular motion is nothing but an object which is moving in a circular path. It is taking up a path of a circle. Then it do have a center which is O, and even though the particle is in motion, the distance from the fixed point is the same. It is not going to change. Whereas in case of translatory motion, the distance from the fixed point is changing continuously. But here the distance from the fixed point is constant. Such motion is called as circular motion. Coming to the third type of motion, it is oscillatory motion. Oscillatory motion is the motion of the particle which just makes a to and fro motion. It is periodic motion and it is going to make a to and fro motion. So here you will be having a mean position and the body is going to oscillate about this mean position, and such motion is called as oscillatory motion. And in the next two chapters we are going to study about the translatory motion as well as circular motion. So to study the motion of an object, we are going to use a point object. What do you mean by point object? So any object whose dimension is negligible when compared with the distance travelled by that object is called as point object. So we are not going to consider the dimension of any object or any body when we are going to describe the motion of this objects. Next, the frames of reference. First, let me tell you the importance of frame of reference. To describe the motion of a body, I need to have the knowledge about velocity, displacement, acceleration, etc. And when measured, these physical quantities are different for different observers. For example, for a person who is sitting inside the bus, let me say a person is sitting inside the bus which is moving at a speed 10 km per hour. And a person is standing outside the bus who is at rest. To the person who is standing outside the bus and observing the person who is sitting inside the bus, for this person, the person who is sitting inside the bus is moving with the speed 10 km per hour. And for the person who is inside the bus, he is at rest. So for the different observers, the value of speed is different. For him, he is at rest. For this observer, he is moving with a speed 10 km per hour. And to specify the position of the body properly, we need to use this frame of reference. So frame of reference will have a fixed point and a set of axes. As you can see, O is the fixed point which is also called as origin. X, Y, Z are the three mutually perpendicular axes. The angle between X and Y is 90 degree, Y and Z is 90 degree, and Z and X is 90 degree. This is very much similar to the corner of your wall. So here you can see the three axes are mutually perpendicular to each other. There are many frames of reference, but we are going to use this simplest frame of reference which is called as Cartesian coordinate system, and this is also called as rectangular coordinate system. In this Cartesian coordinate system, I am going to fix the position of the object, and here I am going to use the three coordinates X, Y and Z. First, let me draw a perpendicular from this point P to the plane XZ, and I will draw a line perpendicular to the Z axis and perpendicular to X axis. So this forms a parallelogram. Now this is the coordinate X, this is coordinate X and this is coordinate Z. Then the opposite sides are equal in a parallelogram. Therefore, this becomes X and this becomes Z. And let me draw one more perpendicular line to the Y axis, and this coordinate will be Y. So this point P is specified using three coordinates X, Y and Z. So in this chapter, we are dealing with the motion in a straight line. That means the particle or the body is moving along a straight line. That is, we have to just specify one coordinate here. That is, if the body is moving along the x-axis, then only the x coordinate will change, y and z coordinates remain the same. Coming to the motion in a plane, that is motion in two dimension. If a body is moving along a plane or moving in a plane, then we have to specify two coordinates to be changing and the one remains the same. One will be constant and the two other coordinates are going to change. And in case of motion in 3 dimension or motion in space, all the 3 coordinates will be changing at a time. So this chapter, there will be only change in one coordinate, either x, y or z. The physical quantities are divided into 2 types. One is scalar quantity, the other one is a vector quantity. So what do you mean by scalar quantity? If the quantity has only magnitude and its direction is not specified, then we are going to call such quantities as scalar quantity. So scalar quantities are the physical quantities which has only magnitude. These do not have any direction. For example, length, mass, temperature, density and etc. So in all these examples, we only consider its magnitude. They do not have any direction. Therefore, such physical quantities are called as scalar quantity. Coming to the vector quantities, these are the physical quantities which has both magnitude and direction. So if a physical quantity has both magnitude and direction, we call such physical quantities as vector quantity. For example, velocity, acceleration, force and etc. So in all these physical quantities, we are going to mention its magnitude as well as direction. The next topic is distance and displacement. Let us see what is the difference between distance and displacement. Coming to the definition of distance, distance is also called as path length. So the actual path travelled by the body is called as distance. For example, if a body travels from A to B, then to C, D, E, F and G, this is how the body has been travelled. That is the actual path and that is nothing but the distance. So I can write the distance is the actual path travelled by the body. And coming to displacement, displacement is the shortest distance travelled by the body. That is, if x is the initial position, I am going to consider this as xi, the initial position, and g is the final position. That is, the body has started its journey from A and it has reached its destination at G. Then the shortest distance from A to G is this. So that shortest distance from A to G is called as displacement. That is, displacement only considers the initial position and the final position. Therefore, displacement can be written as the shortest distance travelled by the body. So this is xf minus xi, that is final position minus initial position. Next, coming to the distance. Distance never considers the direction and it always depends on the path followed, the shape of the path followed by the body. So you can see we always consider the distance from A to B, C, then D and E, F and G. That is why I say that the distance depends on the shape of the path followed by the body, whereas displacement never depends on the shape of the path followed by the body. It always depends only on the initial position and final position. Therefore, displacement is independent of the path followed by the body. And distance is a scalar quantity because it does not have any direction, it just has a magnitude. And coming to this, displacement is a vector quantity. Let us discuss this with an example later. Coming to the fourth point, the distance is always a positive value. Distance is always a positive value, whereas displacement can be positive, negative, or it can also take up 0. So, always the distance will have a positive value. It is never negative or 0, but displacement can be positive, negative as well as 0. And coming to distance, distance will always be greater than or equal to displacement. It is always greater than or equal to displacement. Displacement is always less than or equal to distance. It is always less than or equal to distance. So, distance and displacement can be equal, or distance can be greater than displacement. Distance is never less than displacement. Now, I have taken some examples to explain distance and displacement. Coming to the first example, here the body travels from A to B and then to C. From A to B, it is going to travel 4 meters, and from B to C, it is traveling 3 meters. So, what is the distance and displacement in these cases? Let us now measure the distance first. From A to B, it is 4 meters, and B to C, it is 3 meters. 4 plus 3 is 7 meters. So, the distance travelled by the body is 7 meters. And what about the displacement? Since the body is moving along a straight line, the displacement is also 4 plus 3, which is 7 meters. So, from this it is understood that the distance and displacement are equal when the body moves along a straight line. Let us look at the second example. Here the body has moved from A to B, which is 4 meters, and it has changed its direction from B to C, which is 3 meters. Now, again the distance will be equal to 4 plus 3, which is 7 meters, because distance depends on the shape of the path travelled. Therefore, 4 plus 3 is 7 meters. But coming to displacement, what will be the displacement? As I have told you earlier, the displacement depends on only the initial and the final position. Initial position is A, final position is C. And I have to now go into the shortest distance, which is A to C. So, this is nothing but the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle. So, applying Pythagoras theorem, you get AC is equal to 5 meters. Now, you can say that displacement is 5 meters. Here, since the body was travelling in a straight line, distance and displacement were equal. And in this case, distance is greater than displacement. So, in our difference we have told that distance is equal to or greater than displacement. So, if the direction of the body changes, then distance becomes greater than displacement. If the body is moving along a straight line, distance and displacement are equal. If the body is moving along a curved path, then distance will be greater than displacement. Next, coming to the third example, here the body moves from A to B and to C. So, the distance travelled is 4 plus 3, it is 7. But what about the displacement? Again, consider only the initial and final positions. So, initial position is A, final position is C. Here from A to B it is 4 meter, from B to C it is 3 meter. Then what is this distance? It is equal to 1 meter, and that will be the displacement of the body. And coming to the fourth point, here the body travels from A to B, which is a semicircle, and the radius of this circle is taken to be 10 meter. Then the distance travelled by this body will be equal to the circumference of the semicircle. Circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, then circumference of a semicircle is pi r, which is nothing but equal to 10 pi. As radius is equal to 10, I am going to write this as 10 pi. You just have to multiply 3.14 to this, then 10 pi meters. Then coming to the displacement. As you know, displacement is the shortest distance. No need to travel in the path travelled. We are not interested in the shape of the path travelled. We are just going to consider the shortest distance, that is from A to B is nothing but the diameter of the circle. The diameter of the circle is 20 meter. So, from this we have understood that distance is the actual path travelled, whereas displacement is the shortest distance which is being considered. Distance is considered as a scalar quantity because it is not going to consider any direction, whether the path travelled by the body is a straight path or a curved path or whatever it is, the distance will be the same. But whereas the displacement is changing, if it is a straight path it is 7 meter, if it is a curved path it is 5 meter. So, displacement is depending on the direction of the path travelled. That is why we say distance is a scalar quantity and displacement as a vector quantity. So, in the next class we are going to study these things in details, and here I am going to end the session. Thank you.